entrato. Sì, no, non va bene, non va bene.
No, è così, va bene.
Ah, ok, perfetto.
Ecco, ora sono entrato.
Sì.
Va bene. Quindi, ok, got it, all right, bene. Così, all right. So, hang up the phone, guys. Mettiamo su, ti tengo lì, però non importa che stai così con
No, puoi chiudere, chiudi.
Ok, va bene. Ok. Hi, guys. So, welcome to this webinar, right? Today we'd like to talk about foreshortening, right? For example, this is an example of foreshortening, right? This is from my third book, right? And you see how I created this little sketch, a little study here to exemplify the approach that I would use before creating a foreshortening. Now, this is something that you could do before you do the drawing like this, and you keep it very, very light, right? Very, very light. Or you could have it in your head, right? Have it in your head, and when you draw this figure here, you don't think about the organic aspect of the body or the form, but you think more about volume, right? A volume like this, right? Another volume like this, see that? Another volume like this, etc., etc. So, of course, at first you want to do a bunch of these, like I show in these exercises, right? With stereometry. You do a bunch of these first. You need to become acquainted with the basic volumes of the body and the stereometric point of view, meaning reduced to simple, essential geometric volume that are defined by using the maximum height, the maximum width, and the maximum depth of the figure, right? This is traditionally, this is the new version, more modern version they came up with, but traditionally the stereometry would be rendered in volumes like, let me see if I can find an image here, a more angular, like this one, right? This would be, I'm sure you have seen plenty of works like this one, right? Like this, right? This is the traditional stereometry that goes back 500-600 years, right? So once you understand how these volumes relate to each other proportionally, then you can see that blocking the figure quickly without being distracted by the organic details. And on top of this, you're going to build up the muscle, etc. So these are all examples of stereometric volumes. And so with these stereometric volumes, in addition to making it easier to block in the figure quickly, focusing on the proportion and on the pose rather than detail, are also very, very efficacious to create a drawing of the body in foreshortening. So another example is this one, right? This is how I start the drawing, more in my head than in paper. On top of this, I then attach the legs and the arms, right? And then eventually I finish the drawing like this. This was done from life quite a few years ago, right? But this is the concept. This is how you look at the foreshortened figure, and you can see here the overlap in the head overlaps the rib cage overlaps the pelvis, and then the pelvis overlaps the leg, and the thigh, and the thigh overlaps the leg. So this is the overlapping is the concept of this overlapping of volume is very important. Another way you can think of foreshortening is imagine marshmallows, right? Marshmallow on a string, and all the segments of the body are like marshmallows, right, on a string. And as you move this, or put them maybe on a skewer, right? And then you move them around, and you're gonna see how the overlapping here, right, hides a good part of the more distant marshmallows, right? So this is another example. I disassembled the body, right, and in this case in here, instead we have all the parts of the body coming together. So now I would like to, of course, you can see also the advantage of blocking in at first the axial skeleton here, the segment of the axial skeleton, where we can not just consider the overlapping of the forms, right, but also we can orient them different direction, right? So the pelvis is oriented this way, the head and ribcage oriented this way, and then from this, the trunk, I can then develop the figure further by adding the arms and the legs, and this is something that you can do, with quick lines like this. Visualize your possible pose, right? These are done all out of my head, right? Possible pose, and then with the one that you like the most, then you block it in, right? So let's see how we can create an image like this, right? How do we proceed with an image like this? So I'm gonna discuss this a little bit briefly, and then we're gonna start drawing, right? So actually this one, right? This one. See what I did with this image in here? I block in the thigh. Why the thigh? Because it was convenient. I could have blocked in the lower leg, but I like the thigh because it's very visible, right? It's straight and it's in contact with the axial skeleton. So it's easier to then attach the thigh to the center of the body, axial skeleton like this. So once I block this, right, then I started using the length of the thigh to position properly the other segment of the body, right? And so we have this horizontal alignment. See that horizontal alignment like this, right? And but as we develop the figure, we can also use vertical alignment to see how all the parts relate to each other. So let's draw this figure and see how we can do this, right? So now, all right. So I'm gonna start with the leg, with the thigh, right? So the thigh is gonna be here. I'm blocking the whole thigh, even what I don't see of the thigh, right? So at this point, you don't want to be too fastidious when you draw. You want to be precise, of course, but it's not about making a super pretty drawing, right? It's about figuring out the proportion, the angles, and etc. Now, once I have the thigh here, right, I'm looking at my model and I see that I'm gonna block in the pelvis. I look at my model, and what I do, I just don't draw a pelvis like this imitating. I want to see where is the top of the pelvis, right? Top of the pelvis is typically, let me see if I can find it on a picture like this, right? Maybe later we're gonna copy this image. That's the top of the pelvis, more or less, see that, right? So that is the iliac spine. So I'm looking where I find the iliac spine, and I see that, I'm making it up, right? The top of the pelvis is about, not 1/3, right, but close to the lower third. So now I block in here, the top of the pelvis like this, right? And now I see where is the pubic bone, right? So the pubic bone, I look at the pubic bone and I see that the pubic bone maybe is here, right? And toward the end, right? Maybe the lower quarter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lower fifth, right? So I'm using this now as a ruler, right? And meaning I don't think pelvis, right? I do think pelvis, but I think more like a geometric volumes, and I think about how this line here can give me clues or where to position all the segment that I'm going to attach to it later. So now this is now the pelvis, right? This is now the center. That's the pubic bone, right? We see the pubic bone toward the ending here. That's the base of the pelvis. We don't really see it in the figure, but we can imagine what it is. The glute would be here, I guess, right? Now I'm looking at the top of the rib cage. I look at the top of the rib cage, and I see that in my figure is maybe about here at the upper third, like this, right? So I bring it out, bring it over, and then I know the top of the rib cage is here. Now I block in the rib cage. When I do this, see that it makes it easier to accept that the rib cage, part of the rib cage, is going to be hidden. It's going to be under or behind the top of the pelvis. Now I block in the sternum. I can block in the sternum like this, right? Or I can even turn the figure slightly on the side and then have the sternum here. And then the costal arch is going to be here. See that? So I'm going to start moving. Actually, I don't see that, right? I don't see the top of the neck because the neck is behind. So I can start turning, right? Turning the rib cage here like this, right? Now the figure is, the pelvis is directed this way and the rib cage is directed this way, like this, right? So now we can block in the head, and maybe the head is going to be, now what is the head, the top of the head? It's not, let's say in my model, it's not at the level of the top of the knee, it's a little bit lower, like halfway between here and here. And that's where I put the top of the head, right? I want to know where the head ends, right? Now, maybe the head now is turning that way. So I have rib cage, sorry, pelvis this way, rib cage that way, and head that way. So I kind of turn my figure as I want. So now this is, see, the under chin, right? This is going to be the neck, right? So you see how we can start moving this figure whichever way we want, right? So I don't see the, just a second, spend a second on this, right? I wouldn't see the base of the neck because the rib cage is going to be, let me show you here. The rib cage is, the figure lying down like this is like this, right? See that? So this is the neck and this is the head. So if I'm looking from here, right, I don't see that. It's behind. So we want to consider also this, this factor, right? How is this volume oriented, right? And where is the peak? I'm gonna have the peak about here, at halfway more or less the length of the rib cage right here, and past that we have this sloping down portion for the top of the chest. See that? To make sense like that, right? The sternum. So now what we can do, we can block in an arm right here. We're gonna have an arm here like this, right? So arms are gonna be about here, right? And I can, now that I have all of these elements, right, of the figure, I can start using not just the leg, but also any parts of this figure here to block in more parts, in this case the arm. So let's say I see the shoulder, right? Where is the joint of the shoulder? And I'm looking at the top of that or the bottom of that, whichever more convenient, and I see that it is just above that, right? So I put it here. Now here I'm gonna have the arm like this, right? Maybe like this, right? And then the arm could be, now it's actually it's foreshortened, right? So the arms are gonna be shorter, right? It's gonna be like this because it's not gonna go down straight. It's gonna come toward me. So now I draw the arm like this, right? And I see it much shorter. Of course, it's foreshortened. Now I have and I can see what is the elbow, right? And I look at the elbow and say, oh, okay, more or less, I see. I don't need to measure everything, but it's in line here with the bottom of the pelvis, this part of the thigh, right? It doesn't have to be super precise, right? And then I have here now the upper arm. The upper arm goes out this way, let's say, right? Maybe this is a fallen warrior or something, right? And we see now the where is the wrist, right? I'm looking at the wrist, line it up, right? And I see, oh, it's above the pelvis. Oh, here, like this, right? The hand is here, right? This, right? And later we're gonna get more detail in there. So one important thing when we do this is that when we draw these volumes, we want always to think about the section or the base. Like in this case, I drew this cylinder here like this, see that? I want to draw the base of that cylinder because drawing the base of that makes describe this volume as three-dimensional. If I don't draw the section here, I just draw two parallel lines and this, right? Its shape, and that's instead it should be perceived as a form, right? Meaning a three-dimensional object with height, depth, and width. So draw always the section, and then eventually you can get rid of it, right? But draw the section first so that you always think three-dimensionally. It's easier also to consider the overlapping of the various forms. So now this arm, let's say is here, the shoulder is here because the figure is turning this way, right? So probably is here, right? It's turning that way, right? And this may be here, kind of trying to protect himself from somebody hitting him, right? And we see now this arm here is straight, but this arm here goes back like that, like this, right? So now I don't see the face anymore. It's trying to protect his face, right? And the hand is gonna be here, like this, right? Like that. So this leg now, it can block in this leg here, right, the thigh. So I know that the thigh is connected with the pelvis between the lower quarter and the middle, here like this. So that's the joint, right? That's the joint, right? Now here I can block in the thigh like this, right? And we can have the thigh now going that direction like it's just trying to roll away, right? And we have now we can use the vertical alignment here, right, to see how far out the leg goes. So all of these parts of the body that we have blocked in so far are obtained by lining up all this segment horizontally, but now we can also use the vertical alignment, right? For example, this, what is this, right? I bring it up and I say, oh, it's kind of shy of this, of the wrist right here, shy of the wrist. Is it there or is it shorter? Well, it is shy of the wrist in this case. I put it here, right? So now I have the section here like this, right? And now I can block in on top of this, right, another volume of the lower leg. So I have the thigh and the leg, right? So at this point, you see, I can maintain all of these structural aspects in here. I could keep them lighter, but I'm thinking three-dimensionally, and I'm imagining this volume as transparent, right? As transparent. So, so meaning, even if I see only part of the thigh, I don't want to draw only part of the thigh when I use this system. I want to draw the whole thigh, and on top of it, I put the leg, because that helped me to maintain this idea of coherence between this line, for example, and this line here, for example, right? So they're not separate, they're part of the same volume. Now here I have the two segment, right, separated, right? And here I have the ankle. I look at the ankle. Where's the ankle? Oh, it's kind of in line with the root of the thigh. All right, here, like this, right? The foot, I'm gonna block in the circle here, the sphere, and then I'm gonna block in a wedge, right? A wedge like this, see that? So this is a wedge on top of the sphere, right? And that gives me the foot, right? So now, what is this, right? Yeah, a little bit kind of shy of the connection of the pelvis with the thigh. So now here we can block in the lower leg. Just come down like this, right? And down like this, right? Now I'm looking at it's easy to draw this because it's quite close. This is the joint, the knee joint, right? It's quite close to the top. They're gonna be about here, more or less, right? But what is the ankle, right? And look at the ankle bone, and it's just below, right? Assuming just below the root of the thigh. And now here, I block in the sphere of the heel, and then here the wedge of the foot, right? So now I have a foreshortened figure, right, like this, see that? That I can create out of my head, out of my imagination, right? And and then if I don't like it, I can quickly change things because it didn't take me long to do this. Like for example, if I take this off, right, you can say I don't like that, right? I like it maybe, or actually, let's try another possibility. Like this guy is like this, right? But maybe the body is here like this, right? Right? Like this. And then the head is here, right? See that? And then the arm is gonna be here, like this. The other arm is here like this, right? This is the nose, right? Like that. So this is another possibility, right? In a sense. So always figuring out, checking with your model, right? Where the various parts how the various parts of the body relate to each other proportionally. So again, remember, think of this segment as basic volume, right? Think of them as solid, as three-dimensional, and think of them as overlapping when you put them together like this, right? And always, when you make a mark, relate the next mark to the previous one to see how these marks relate to each other proportionally. So, what I'd like to do, I'd like to now to take a photograph, right? And then copy the foreshortened figure, right? Maybe this one, right? Or maybe this one, quite big. Let's go with this one first, right? And then we do another one. So this is a Spanish model I work with. She is featured in my third book, and she's quite good, right? You might want to, if you want to have references, right? From Lillian Wilkes is her name, right? She sells every month. She's on Patreon and on Gumroad. She sells reference images, right? And every month you can download 30, 40 images, 20, 30, 40 images, and they're very, very useful, quite beautiful, right? Quite beautiful. So I personally request also specific images for the book, right? But so she's a very very good model, right? All right, so let's look at how this. She's a little bit of foreshortening here, right? See that, a little bit of foreshortening here, and this is overlapping. So this is quite interesting foreshortening here too, right? All right, so now we have to decide where do we start from, right? Where do we start from? So let's see. We can start from the pelvis, from the center, right? So I look in the pelvis, I block in, look at the angle. I see this, I don't see that, but I can imagine the pelvis going down this way. And that's the bottom of the pelvis, right? So I'm gonna block in this volume like this, right? I mean, this phase, this stage could be done very, very accurately in terms of measurement or not, right? I don't want to get too much into identification of the landmarks, etc., because it would take a little bit too much time. I don't want to do that. I want to show you the concept. The pubic bone is usually above the at the top of the pubic hair, or in that area of the pubic hair. So here like this, right? So this is genital like this, right? But for the leg, see that the leg here, right, is about here, right? That's the root of the leg, right? Like this. So this leg now goes up at an angle like this, right? At an angle like this. And I'm looking now, I have already established the pelvis, right? As a core, the starting point. I could have started with the rib cage, right? I started with the pelvis, right? I can see, all right, how long is this compared to the pelvis, right? And I'm looking at the pelvis and thinking, all right, it's the same length as from the end of the genital, because that's the anus, right? The genital to the top of the pelvis. So it's about here, right? So okay, that's the length of the leg. Makes sense? Remember when I mentioned before, every time you make a mark, right, you check with the existing mark. So this is This is the thigh coming down like this, right? It goes down like this. And now I have this long leg, right? How long is the leg? I would say probably is twice the height that I'm blocking here. Let's see, right? So here the end, one. So that's the ankle bone. See that? Okay, one and two, exactly twice, a little bit more than twice. All right, good. So eventually you will get very good at approximating the measurement, right? So this is the length of the leg, and see, this is almost a 90 degrees angle. See that? So look at this as a 90 degrees angle. That's the ankle, right? This is now the lower leg, and here is the foot, right? Remember, circle and then wedge, right? How big is the foot? It looks like the same thing as the pelvis, kind of, yeah. So the foot is this big, right? From here to here, that's the foot is going to end up here. And now we are going to get the sphere of the heel, right? And then the wedge. Look, 1, 2, 3. See that? So this is 1 here, and then 2, and then 3, and that's the wedge of the foot, right? Right, like this. So now here we have this leg. You see also the root of this leg is kind of the same level as the pubic bone as the other leg, right? Down like this. So it's about here, right? So now I block in this, right? The root of the leg, the thigh here. Then I want to block in this, the knee, right? Now look at this. This is the knee, right? See this line here, this circle here is the section of the thigh. You see that this, right, is slightly below the pelvis, and the top of the circle here is inside, within the height of the pelvis. So it's here, like this, right? Here, like this. So now I see relatively little, see that? Relatively little of the thigh, which is here, right? See that? It's very little, right? And then this is the thigh, letter 4, right? And now I look at the lower leg, which reaches at the level, see the bump in there? At the level of the heel here, that's the thigh, that's the lower leg right here. So now, this the foot is here like this, right? Now, when we do this kind of job, right, for now, it's the main preoccupation we have is really to transform this in this, right? So devote some time to that without being too hindered by preoccupation of exactitude, right? When you do this, it doesn't have to be always 100%. It has to be good enough, because as you do this, you try to understand the method. Once you have understood the method, which is the most important thing, then you can think of improving your precision, right? Okay, so now, so far so good, right? So now we have, here's the center, the pelvis, which is slightly rotated actually. Now we can block in the rib cage. What is the rib cage? Right, the rib cage starts from here, see that? And ends up, and this is the top, this is the jugular fossa. So this is the top of the rib cage from the front. That's the top of the rib cage from the back, which we don't see it. It's simply a little bit higher. So I want to find this, and I got it, right? And I'm looking at this spacing here, right? And I just eyeball this spacing here. Actually, it's here, right? This is the space right here, like this. And then I go up like this. And how high does it go, right? I bring it over just a little bit higher than the knee, a little bit higher than the knee, so it's here. All right, so that, and what is this vertically? I come down with this, and I can eyeball this distance, see that? So let's say it's about here, right? Come up with this, all right. That is this, right? So that, this. Now from here, I'm gonna block in the rib cage here, right? And then this is the neck, the base of the neck, and this is now the rib cage, like this, right? I'm making, this is a little bit bigger than that, so so now this is the rib cage. Notice one thing: in women, the the pelvis is a little bit narrower, wider, I'm sorry, than the rib cage, right? So you see how this is wider and this is narrower. So we had to respect that, right? So when we draw this, we want this to be slightly narrower than this. Now here's the sternum, right? The sternum goes down, not vertically, almost though, right? Almost vertically. And then when we get to probably this point in here, to the costal arch, we have this change of angle. So now we have this right here. That's the costal arch, right? We don't need to block in actually the too many anatomical detail, just volume, right? And now here, I have somewhere here, I have the head of the humerus, the shoulder joint. Where is the head of the humerus? It's above, quite above, see that, the jugular fossa. So that's the jugular fossa. It's above, and I would say the distance between these two, right, is here, right? But this is higher, sorry, higher, here like this, right? So now the elbow joint, what is the elbow joint? Is a little bit lower than the connection between rib cage and pelvis here, right? See that here? So now I go down straight. This is fairly straight, right? The upper arm from here goes fairly straight, and here. So spend some time doing this because as you draw figures like this, right? You will you're training your brain, right? You're training your brain to, oh, look, there's too much distance, right? Too much distance in here. All right, so I need to move the arm to the right, see that? Because this is too big, see that? And it's too small a triangle. All right, I move the arm to the right. And maybe I move the neck also to the right. So this arm here should be, so I know that the shoulder is here. Now I want to see where is this arm is. Okay, only that little triangle, see that here and here, like this. And the elbow here is a little bit lower than the height of the pelvis, yeah? And now the arm goes down at an angle like that. And now the thigh, see that? And the hand can be closer, right? Can be closer. So here, that's the hand, like this, right? Now, I want to check the length of the arm compared to the forearm compared to the arm, right? So here, from here, right, to here, this should be shorter than that, right? Here to here is shorter, right? And now from here, this should get to here, right? From here to here, that's okay, it's good, see that? It's good. So now, we have the, we can block in the other arm, right? Blocking the other arm, actually, no, now that I move the arm to the right, see the spacing here is too big. So I need to move the rib cage to the right a little bit here and try to replicate the space. See that? The space that I have here where the breast is, right? I have to replicate this spacing here and then therefore narrow the rib cage, and this is now the neck, the base of the neck, right? So now we're gonna have the other shoulder. So what is the other shoulder? Is a little bit higher than the jugular fossa, but not clearly not as high as that, right? So it's about here, like this, right? So now that is the head of the humerus. We see how this arm is partially behind the rib cage, right? See that? So now with this we go down parallel to rib cage, right? Looking at this angle, right? Looking at this angle. And now we have the passage, the joint in here is a little bit lower than that joint here. And now this arm goes back that way, right, like that. And the arm is there. The head, how big is the head? All right, let's look at, I see the top of the head, I see the chin. This is the measurement we don't know. We want to now figure out how big is this. Looks like the pelvis seems like it's the same size. See, that's from here to here. And now the chin is at the level or just a little bit lower than the humerus here. So that's the head, right? Now we have here the cranium, and here's the face, That's the jaw. That's the brow ridge, right? That's the nose. That's the mouth, right? And then that's the hair. We can add the hair if you want to, right? Like that, right? Makes sense. So now we have the figure, right? Like this. Makes sense. This is just a very wild initial sketch, and what we do, we clean it up, and if we want to create a more precise drawing, we start blocking in the organic detail of the figure. So we're gonna draw now the thighs as they are, right? Like this. Try to copy the various changes of the profile in the thigh here, like this, right? Like this. And then there's gonna be the knee here, like this, right? This is the calves, the other thigh here, right? So this becomes now more organic, right? More realistic, right? The glutei here, right? Like that. And if not, if we don't want to do the realistic work, we can refine this structurally and select some more precise outline, right? But always drawing them as basic volumes, right? This part in here of the drawing where you kind of go over the drawing again and refine is very important because it permits you to review your decision, refine them, think again, maybe add things that were neglected or misplaced, right? This is the breast, and this is now the clavicle. The clavicle goes up like this, and the clavicle goes out like this, right? So let's do another one, right? Let's do another one, right? So this was we could do this is a little bit difficult because it's very dark, right? We could do this. This is tricky, right? But that's fine, right? That's fine. We could also do this one doesn't have enough foreshortening, and so let's get this one, right? It's quite tricky and intriguing, right? All right. So now we're gonna have me blocking from here to here. That's good. All right. So now we could start. We could start with the head, but the head is kind of partially hidden, right? So we could start with the arm. Remember when I in the previous example, the first example, I started with the leg. This arm is very convenient because along this arm, see that I can find a lot of other landmarks that become measurable. So now I establish the length of the arm. How do I do that? That's up to me. I can make it this big, I can make it this big. This is going to become the ruler, and I decide how big that's going to be, right? Now, this arm is not quite vertical, it's slightly at an angle, right? So we block in the joint in here, right? And then the shoulder joint. And then we block in the upper arm, like this, right? Slightly at an angle, right? Now, from here, now what we can do, we can block in the rest of the arm, right? We see how we have the beginning here of the arm, right? The beginning of the arm, right? And then we have the end of the upper arm. Now I see the forearm. And how big is the forearm, right? Right, see that? The change of angle here? That's the joint. So I'm looking at this bump here, which is this bump here. That's the end of the ulna, that's the end of the forearm here. So I look at this, right? And then compare it with that, right? See that? All right. So it's about here, right? The forearm, it's about here. I know the forearm, we think only the forearm is longer than the upper arm, but it's not, right? It's really not. It's just an impression we have. Also because here we had the hand added, but this per se, the forearm, is not super long. See that? This is much longer. See that? All right, so now we have this angle, right? We see this slightly coming in at the end. This angle now here is accentuated, goes slightly out. Actually, let's do this. Look, we have this bump in here. Bring it up straight. And look, it's tangent with that. That's easy, right? So now that is where we had the length, and now we have also the angle, right, of the forearm. See that? Now we're gonna draw the forearm as a truncated cone like this, right? Tapering like this, right? And that's gonna be the forearm, right? We can neglect the hand for now because I would like to get into the maybe the rib cage, right? So the rib cage, the rib cage is the top of the arm, right? And I see that the rib cage here. See the change of angle here, right? Here like this, right? That's the end of the rib cage, right? So what is that? It's pretty much here, right? More or less. So here, that's the rib cage, right? How far out? Well, we have a measurement. Let's measure it, right? So how far distant from the arm is that, right? Take this. So basically I need 2 points, longitude and latitude, right? And I look at the forearm because it looks like it's similar, and it is slightly shorter than the forearm. All right, that's easy, right? Forearm, a little bit shorter than that. Put it here, and now I know that here, right? Where this is, right? Make sense? So now we have here the neck. So the base of the neck looks like it's here. And this is going to be the rib cage, right? Therefore, I'm going to block in the rest of the rib cage, even if I don't see it. I just want to have the whole volume, even if obtained by speculative means, right? So now this keeps going down like this, right? That's the pelvis, right? And how deep is this, right? It's, oh, look at me, look how lucky we are, right? Just a little bit below the joint here. That's the end of the pelvis, right? So therefore, if I have the end of the rib cage here, the pelvis is going to be a little bit shorter. So we don't need to be a little bit lower, right? We need to be super obsessive about this, right? A speculation like that will be okay, because what really matters is how big is this compared to this, right? Where it ends. Now here's the pelvis. And now I look at the leg, right? Where is the leg? The leg is a little bit higher than the end of the rib cage is here. So that's the leg here, right? I draw the section, see that here? From here now I need to go down here. This is now the beginning, right, of the thigh. And now this is going to be the thigh, see that here? This angle looks, it's okay. Make it a little bit lower. So this is the thigh. Again, I draw the whole thigh, right? And this now, the ankle, that's the ankle bone, see that? What is the ankle bone? It looks like it's kind of halfway between the top and the bottom of the forearm, see that? Here. So here, that's the ankle bone, and it goes down. So again, when you do this, try to find as many of these measurements as possible, because as we mentioned before, it's not like you had to draw like this all the time when you do this, right? This is just to program your brain to look at the body in a specific way, right? And later, this will become intuitive. But first, you need to spend some time figuring this out, right? So then we have, that's the ankle, right? Now, the heel is only sticking out but past behind the posterior margin of the thigh, so here, right? And that's the foot, right? The foot just a little bit higher than the ankle here, right? See that? Sorry, the ulna here, right? So this could be a little bit higher, but it's fine like that, right? So it's now the wedge, right? And the toes that show up here like this. Now I'm looking at the negative spaces here. The leg could be a little bit straighter, right? Because you got negative space in here, it's smaller than that. But you know, but we can fix it, right? It's not a big deal. We can fix it here like this, right? Here, here, and it's done, right? So that's the other advantage of not drawing um, the form of the body realistically, because it would take you quite some time to draw something realistically, and then if things are wrong, you had to spend a lot of time redrawing them, right? By this way, we block in the essential volume of the form of the body first without wasting time in detail, and we can kind of move them and change them in position, and as if we're playing with the dolls, right? Or we're kind of playing with these a little mannequin, right? Now here is the other shoulder is behind here. I don't see it much, but I see this is the deltoid, see that? So it's a little bit higher than that, right, slightly. So it's about here, right? And looking at this spacing here, very small, see that? So it's about here, right? And now the neck, I see the neck here, right? It's like it's just a triangle. So, and it's here at the corner, at the turning of the volume of the head of the humerus, like this. And now I have the face, right? Blocking the head. We could now, I can't see the top of the head here, right? Maybe you don't because it's very dark. But that's where the top of the head, where the hair is collected up here, right? So I'm looking now at the size of the head, because I want the head to be proportional, right, with the rest of the figure. And I'm looking at this, and it's kind of like the forearm, right? All right, so I take the forearm and put it here, and it was pretty much the measurement that I use, right? So now, but see how the face needs to be a little bit more past the arm compared to what I have, so the face should be here, right? Now that's the cranium, right? And this is the jaw, that's the neck. So this is the brow ridge, that's the nose, and that's the mouth. So now I have my eyes here like this, right? And now we have this here. What is this here, right? I can eyeball it, right? I can eyeball it. It's a little bit past the connection between the point of passage between the rib cage and the pelvis is here, here. And then now I have the heel, right? And then actually here could be probably a little bit higher, right here, a little bit higher. I'll put it here. So meaning the thigh is a little bit short like that, right? So now here, and then I have the foot like this, right? See that? I'm gonna draw one, almost vertical, right? Almost vertical, but not quite. This instead is from the heel, comes in, right? And then goes down parallel to that, right? 1 and 2. And then the foot breaking again this way, like that, right? This is now slightly lower than that, here, right? It's good. And now I block in the lower leg here. You see this portion here, a little bit shorter than what I have here. It's fine, right? Now this is the volume of the knee, right? And what is that? It's a little bit higher, right, than the elbow here, like this, right? And here, that's good. Now that would be the thigh, like that, right? Like this. The hand now of the scapula, right? We can block in the scapula if we want to. Let's block in this hand here. So we look at this, right? How big is it, first of all, right? Take from the end of the ulna to the tip of the finger, right? And then we compare it with what? With the forearm, right? And it's a little bit shorter than the forearm, right? So that's the end of the forearm, so it's gonna be here. So that's gonna be the hand here, like this, right? The hand is down like this, right? So now we have this, which is a little bit more than half the total length of the hand. See that? This is definitely bigger than this, right? So, which makes sense because look, right? this segment here, right, is bigger than, actually in this case, they are the same, the same. So probably because this is flexed, right, this is flexed. So, but from this side in here, no, this side in here, this is definitely bigger than this, see that? So this happens because, this is the wrist, right? Because as we measure, see that, the two are similar here, right? In fact, the thing is a bit longer. As we measure, compare this measurement with the measurement from the back of the hand, we measure it from the back here, but from the front, we measure it here. See that? We measure it here, so this is bigger. So also, one thing you might want to know, this is the joint, right? This is the joint of the hand, right? And the joint of the fingers here between hand and finger is not here, it's here, right? See that? It's here. That's the joint, right? So anyway, so now we block in the hand here like this, right? This goes relatively straight, slightly at an angle, and we block in this truncated cone. From here, we have the fingers going down like this, right? The thumb going out and down like this, right? We see how we have the segments here are long, medium, short, right? So here, long, medium, short. And now the finger goes from here to here, down like this, slightly curved, like this. And then now these fingers are bent in here and are about here, like this, right? And this middle finger sticks out like this, very close to the thumb. And now we have blocking the whole figure stereometrically, right? Stereometrically. So so let's see. Can do another one, right? Quickly, let's do it quickly, right? I think we could do, let's try to do this, which is easy, right? Let's try to do this, it's easy, and again, it's not super foreshortened, but probably can do it in, what time is it now? See if we can do it in 6 minutes, right? All right. Just to give you an idea how quick this kind of work could be, right? So let's block in now the rib cage, right? Block in the rib cage here. And then we block in the pelvis, right? And the pelvis is gonna be here like this, right? That. So we can now block in this form, this volume, quite loosely like that, just so that we can first start blocking in the volume, see where they are, right? They had this here, and then refine them later with more detail. So now I'm looking at this from the elbow, from the armpit here. I'm looking at this distance in here, right? That looks decent, right? That looks decent. So now here I would have the pubic bone here, right? So one thing you could do, you could also imagine see the change of angle here like this, right? From here to here, right? And the genitals are here. That's pretty much the end of the pelvis. So I'm looking from here to here, right? See that from here, the end of the top of the pelvis, that the end of the vagina is where the pelvis is flush, is down like that. So this is now the pelvis, right? And now from here, right, I go 1, a little bit less than 2, right? All right, so let's see. From here, right, 1, I can make it a little bit higher here, not much, right? A little less than 2, see that? 1, do it again, and 2 here. All right, so that is the length of the rib cage. Now these two are proportionally related, not super exactly, but this decent approximation. From here, right, the jugular fossa, that's the center of the sternum, the center of the chest. So what is that, right? It's about here. All right, so here, like this. Now, because from here, I can come down with this line here, see that connects the rib cage with the pelvis, with the genital, right? So this goes down like this, and from here goes out, and then goes to the top of the genital here like this, right? Now I have connected, right, or the string. Remember we were talking about the string before. The rib cage with the pelvis. Now here is the thigh. I'm blocking the thigh. How high should I go? All right, let me check, right? A little bit higher than the jugular fossa here. And and now we can block in. Now here's the thigh, like this, right? What is this thigh here? It's just below the genital here, right? Just to the side of the genital here, and it's difficult to see where it turns, right? But we can eyeball it, right? Like this, right? And this goes out horizontally. And for now, I'm going to stop it, but I'm not going to stop it and just leave it like as is, like this, right? Because I want to block in the big volume first. Then we're going to review them, right? Now, jugular fossa is here, and the shoulder is slightly higher than that, right? Here like this, right? So now here is the arm, right? The forearm here, so maybe this comes in a little bit more. And that's the deltoid right here. This is the shoulder. That's the deltoid. And the breasts. Now this is the end of the rib cage here, like this, right? The breast is kind of in halfway the top and the bottom, at least the nipple, right? It's about halfway, right? A little bit lower than that. So this is the top, right? That's the bottom, halfway, a little bit higher here. So the breast, one is going to be here, like this, right? And one is going to be slightly lower here, like this, right? So then we have this shoulder, which is clearly, see the whole volume of the head of the humerus still is higher than the jugular fossa, so here. And just outside the width of the rib cage, so here. So that's now the joint, the shoulder joint. From here we go down, it's an angle like this, see that? I can block in the whole thing, right? See where it ends, it's toward the end of the glutea here, right? And where is now this change of angle here, from here to here? That's the tricep, right? This is brachioradialis. It's just below the breast, right? See that? So now here we have the volume of the upper arm, and this is now the volume of the forearm, and that's the hand, right? Like this. Now, the head is looking slightly angled this way, with the face leaning very close to the shoulder, but not quite touching it. And now that is the chin is here, right, at the level, the center of the head of the humerus here. And now we have the neck. Maybe the head is a little bit bigger, right? This, right? Like that. So now we can block in the lower leg. And looking at this triangle here, right? I mean, the negative spacing in this case is not going to be super precise because this is an organic form. This is a, it's geometric volume, right? Basic geometric volume. So it's not going to be necessarily reliable, right? The negative spaces, but what we can use is just to have an idea of indicative idea of things, where they are and how long or short they are. This is the forearm, and that's the hand, like this, right? Like this. So, so now here, now we have blocked in very, very quickly. Now we could, again, we could over it, right? And we just did in 6 minutes, just quick sketch, right? I mean, if you guys are doing graphic novels, right? You do an animation, etc. You could sketch a figure like this very quickly, right? And 5-6 minutes of the figures, the better you get, the faster you get, right? And it's always a good practice to create sketches to visualize your idea, to see if your idea is sound, is good, right? Before you start spending time in developing details in a drawing with a figure. So this will really help you to to achieve the best pose, right? The most expressive pose, the most dynamic, the more effective pose, right, for your figure, right? And this time will spend because you will not have to change your drawing too many times afterward because you resolve most of the structural, dynamic, expressive issues with this initial sketch. All right. So let me know if you have any other things you would like me to discuss for next time when we meet, right? And thank you for connecting with me. See you in a month.